a quiet corner of the galaxy, far away from the shining worlds and busy star stations, there was a forgotten planet. It was not beautiful, not rich, and not safe. The air was heavy, the sky was always dark with strange clouds, and the ground was broken with cracks like deep scars. Few ships landed there. Few people ever returned. But on this lonely world, two alien girls were waiting. They were different from each other, and yet they were the same in one thing: nobody wanted them. The first girl was soft. Her skin glowed like moonlight. Her voice was gentle like a calm river. But her softness was seen as weakness. In a galaxy where strength meant survival, nobody trusted her. Too fragile, they said. Too weak to fight. Too weak to survive. The second girl was wild. Her eyes burned like fire. Her movements were sharp like a storm. She was fierce, untamed, and dangerous. But her wildness was feared. Too violent, they said. Too wild to control. Too wild to trust. So both girls were left behind. Left alone. Left unwanted. Travelers came and looked at them. Soldiers, merchants, and hunters all saw them, but none offered a hand. None spoke kind words. The galaxy had decided they were mistakes. One too soft, one too wild. And so they stayed on the broken planet day after day, waiting. Not for rescue, because rescue never came. Not for love, because love was a dream. They waited only because they had nowhere else to go. But everything changed the day a human arrived. The human was not like the others. He did not come with a large ship or a proud army. He came alone in a small craft, damaged and tired. His journey had been long, his mission unclear. He landed on the rough surface of the planet, the dust rising like smoke around him. He stepped out, his boots sinking into the cracked soil. His eyes scanned the horizon, sharp but tired. And then he saw them, two figures standing in the distance. One shining softly, one burning wildly. They were watching him as if waiting. For a moment he thought it was a trick. He had heard stories about this place, ghosts, curses, creatures that wore human faces. But the longer he looked, the more real they became. The soft one lowered her head, almost shy. The wild one took a step forward, her eyes fierce, ready to attack if he came too close. Others had turned away from them. Others had laughed, judged, and left. But the human did not move away. He took a step forward. The wind blew hard, carrying dust across the ground. The planet itself seemed to whisper warnings. Leave now. Turn back. But he did not listen. He had seen many things in his life, wars, ruins, empty promises. But in that moment he saw something no one else had seen. He saw beauty. Not the kind of beauty that shines for everyone. Not the kind that fades with time. But a hidden beauty. The kind that waits for someone brave enough to look deeper. The others had said, too soft, too wild. But he saw something else. He saw kindness in the soft one's silence. He saw courage in the wild one's fire. He stopped, standing still, only a few steps away from them now. His voice was quiet but clear. I see you, he said. The words were simple, but they were different from anything the girls had heard before. Nobody had ever said that to them. Nobody had ever looked at them as if they truly existed, as if they mattered. The soft girl's eyes widened, her glow flickering. The wild girl growled low, her fire burning hotter. They did not trust him yet. They had been betrayed too many times. But something in his tone was strange. He was not mocking. He was not afraid, he was sincere. The human took one more step. The ground cracked under his boot. The air trembled as if the planet itself was holding its breath. The wild girl raised her hand and the space around her sparked with energy, dangerous and unstable. One wrong move and she could tear the ground apart. The soft girl shook her head, whispering words too quiet to hear. Still, the human did not move back. He simply stood there, steady, his eyes locked on theirs. Others had come and judged. Others had left. But he was different. He had chosen to stay. The silence grew heavy. The only sound was the strange hum in the air, rising stronger and stronger as if the planet itself was reacting to this meeting. And then, something changed. Their eyes glowed brighter than before. The soft one's light was no longer weak. It was alive, warm, and strong. The wild one's fire was no longer chaotic. It was focused, sharp, and powerful. Together they were not too soft, not too wild. Together they were something greater. The human felt it deep in his chest like a pull he could not explain. And in that moment he understood. He was not the one who found them, they had found him. But what did it mean? Why now? Why him? As the energy around them grew, shaking the air, he knew one thing for certain. This was only the beginning. The human stood on the broken ground, the dust of the lonely planet clinging to his boots. In front of him, the two alien girls waited, silent but powerful. One glowed softly, almost fragile, while the other burned with wild fire in her eyes. He should have been afraid. Any other traveler would have turned back, hurried to their ship, and escaped the cursed world. But instead he stayed. His heart did not race with fear. It raced with curiosity. Who were they? Why had the galaxy abandoned them? And why did he feel drawn to them? The warning of others not far behind him. Voices carried through the dust storm. A group of traders and mercenaries had also landed earlier, looking for fuel and supplies. They now stood near their ships, watching the human with wide eyes. "Fool," one shouted. "Stay away from them," another warned. "They are cursed. Too soft, too wild. They will destroy you." The human did not answer. He only raised his hand slightly as if to silence their cries. His gaze remained locked on the girls. The wild one growled, the sound echoing like thunder. She raised her arm, sparks of red light flashing across her skin. Her fire was ready to strike. The soft one lowered her head, her glow dimming with sadness. She whispered words in her alien tongue, words the human did not understand, but somehow he felt their meaning. "Don't come closer, you will only suffer like the others." The step forward, but the human did step forward. One slow, careful step. Dust swirled around his legs, the ground cracking beneath his boots. Every step sounded louder than it should, as if the planet itself listened. He stopped only a few feet away, close enough to feel the heat from the wild girl's energy, close enough to see the tears hiding in the soft girl's eyes. And then he spoke. His voice was calm, steady, carrying no fear. "I am not here to harm you. I only want to know who you are." The words surprised them. For so long, others had called them monsters, mistakes, and curses. But this human asked for something different. Their truth. The wild one tests him. The wild girl bared her sharp teeth, her fire flaring brighter. "Leave," she hissed, her voice rough, broken from years of silence and rage. But the human did not leave. He took another step, slower this time, careful not to provoke. "If I leave," he said, "then I will be like the others. I want to be different." Her eyes narrowed. Nobody had ever spoken like that. She wanted to attack, to scare him away, to protect the only fragile bond she had with the soft one. Yet something about him made her hesitate. "The gentle one speaks." The soft girl finally raised her head. Her glow shimmered like moonlight breaking through storm clouds. Her voice was soft, almost trembling, but it carried deep sadness. "Why?" she asked. Simple, one word. The human's eyes softened. He thought for a long moment before answering. "Because I see something others don't." The soft girl tilted her head. Nobody had ever looked past her weakness. Nobody had ever called her anything but fragile. Could this human truly see her? The galaxy's fear behind them, the mercenaries laughed bitterly. "He's mad. They will destroy him. Humans are weak, but this one is a fool." Their words filled the air, heavy and sharp. But the human ignored them. He felt something the others could not. The planet itself seemed to hum, a strange rhythm growing stronger as he stood between the two alien girls. The wild one clenched her fists, ready to strike. The soft one whispered again, her voice shaking. "Please, go before it is too late." But he shook his head. Too late for what? The strange reaction, and then it happened. As his words echoed, both girls reacted. The wild one's fire pulsed, but it did not strike. The soft one's glow brightened, though she had not willed it. Together, their energy twisted, blending in the air, creating waves of light and sound that shook the ground. The human's hair lifted with static. The mercenaries behind screamed in fear, running back to their ships. But the human remained steady. His eyes did not leave the girls. In that moment, he realized something. Their powers were not curses. They were signals. Signals waiting for someone strong enough or foolish enough to listen. A bond begins. The girls looked at him, truly looked, as if seeing him for the first time. The wild one's fire dimmed just slightly, no longer burning to kill. The soft one's glow became warmer, no longer only sadness, and the human smiled faintly, not in victory, not in pride, but in quiet understanding. I see you, he repeated, firmer now. Both of you. Not too soft, not too wild, just you. The girls froze. The words struck something inside them, something long buried beneath rejection and pain. The cliffhanger, but before anything more could be said, the ground split with a violent crack. A deep rumble rolled across the land. The planet itself roared as if awakened. The human turned, but he did not move away from them. He knew danger was coming, yet he refused to leave. The ground was still shaking from the deep crack that had torn through the planet's surface. Dust clouds rose like smoke, and strange blue sparks of energy flashed in the air. The traders and mercenaries had already fled back to their ships, their engines roaring as they tried to escape the cursed land. But the human stayed. He stood only a few steps away from the two alien girls. The soft one's glow flickered nervously, while the wild one's fire blazed hotter, ready to strike if he dared move closer. For a long moment, no one spoke. The only sound was the low rumble beneath the ground, as if the planet itself waited for what would happen next. The human's calm. The human raised his hands slowly, showing he carried no weapon. His eyes were steady, his breath calm. He had faced battles before, but this felt different. This was not war. This was a test. I am not your enemy, he said softly. I am only a traveler. But I see you, the wild girl growled, her voice rough and sharp. Lies, they all say sweet words. Then they leave. Or they betray. Her fire flared, a circle of red heat burning in the cracked soil around her feet. But the human did not back away. Then test me, he said. If I lie, then end me. But if I speak truth, then listen. The words startled both of them. Nobody had ever invited their judgment before. Nobody had ever risked their life to prove honesty. The wild one's challenge. The wild girl took a step forward, her eyes glowing like burning coals. Sparks crackled in her palms. She raised her hand toward him, the air between them shimmering with heat. The human felt the wave of fire brush against his skin, but he did not move. He simply closed his eyes for a moment, as if surrendering to whatever fate they chose. Strike if you must, he whispered. But know this, I did not come to harm you. I came because I saw what others did not. The fire roared for a heartbeat, then stopped. The wild one froze. For reasons she could not understand, she could not release the flames. Something in his steady gaze broke through the chaos inside her. For the first time in her life, she felt seen. The gentle one's voice. The soft girl stepped forward now, her light trembling like a candle in the wind. She touched the wild one's arm, calming her fire. Her voice was gentle but firm. Why do you not run? She asked the human. Everyone runs. The human turned his eyes to her. Because you are not monsters, he said. I don't see weakness in you. I don't see chaos, I see beauty. The word struck them both, beauty. A word no one had ever used for them. Others had called them fragile, dangerous, cursed. But never beautiful. The soft girl's glow brightened for a moment, warm and hopeful. The strange Bondas. The three of them stood there. Something invisible moved in the air. A current of energy, strong but unseen, pulled at them like threads of fate. The ground around them stopped shaking. The dust settled. Even the dark clouds above seemed to pause, as if the planet itself recognized what had just begun. The wild one lowered her hand, her fire dimming into faint sparks. The soft one's light grew stronger, steady, and calm. The human felt it deep in his chest, a bond forming. Not with one, but with both. It was not love, not yet. It was something older, something deeper, as if their destinies had always been tangled together, waiting for this moment. The fear of the past, but with hope came fear. The wild girl narrowed her eyes again. Do not trust what you see, she warned. We are cursed. The galaxy fears us for a reason. The human tilted his head. Then tell me your story. The soft girl's lips parted, but no words came. Pain filled her eyes. Memories too heavy to speak pressed against her heart. For years they had been judged not for what they did, but for what they might do. One too gentle to survive, the other too fierce to control. Together they had been abandoned, left to rot on this forsaken planet, and yet this human stood here asking for their truth, not their curse. The first touch slowly, carefully, the soft girl raised her hand. Her fingers trembled as she reached toward him. It was the first time in many years she dared to reach for another being. The human did not flinch. He extended his hand too, letting his palm meet hers. The moment their skin touched, a wave of energy exploded outward. A brilliant flash of light and fire mixed together, surging across the cracked land. The wild girl staggered back, her eyes wide. "What have you done?" she whispered, but it was not destruction. The energy was not violent. It was alive, warm and strong. It was connection. The human's heart pounded. He felt her sadness, her loneliness, her hope, all pouring into him through the touch. And he knew somehow that she felt him too, the wild one's choice. The wild girl stepped forward again, torn between anger and wonder. She wanted to push him away, to break this fragile bond before it grew, but deep inside she felt the same pull. She reached out too, her fiery hand hovering close to his other palm. "Do you dare?" she whispered, her voice low, dangerous. The human looked at her without fear. "Yes." And he placed his hand into hers. The explosion of power was greater this time, light and fire blending together, swirling around them in a storm of colors. The planet itself trembled, not with anger, but with awakening. The three of them stood connected, softness, wildness, and humanity, bound together by something greater than fear. For the first time in their lives, the two alien girls were not rejected. They were chosen, but far above in the dark clouds something stirred. A shadow moved, watching. The galaxy had noticed, and it would not allow this bond to exist without a fight. The air still glowed with the storm of energy that had burst when the human touched the alien girls. Light from the soft one and fire from the wild one twisted together in the sky, painting strange patterns in the clouds. The ground beneath their feet hummed with a force older than memory. The human's heart raced, but not from fear. He felt alive, connected in a way he had never imagined. The two girls, once called cursed and unwanted, were no longer weak or wild in his eyes. They were powerful, too powerful for the galaxy to understand. The aftermath of the touch. The soft girl pulled back her hand, trembling. Her glow flickered nervously, though it was brighter than before. This should not be," she whispered. The wild girl's fire danced across her arms, not in chaos, but in controlled flames. Her eyes narrowed. "Why does it react to him?" she growled. "Why now?" "Why him?" The human stood still, feeling the echoes of their energy inside his chest. It was as if part of their essence had entered him and part of him had entered them. He could sense their pain, their strength, their hidden longing. He looked at them quietly and said, "Maybe because no one else stayed long enough to try." The planet reacts. The ground rumbled again, but not in anger. It felt different now. Alive. The cracks in the soil glowed faintly with blue light, spreading in strange patterns, like veins of the world itself waking up. The human knelt and touched the glowing earth. The pulse matched the beat of his own heart. "It's connected," he whispered. The soft girl shook her head, fear in her eyes. "No, it is dangerous. This planet, it sleeps. If it wakes, everything will change." The wild girl bared her teeth, her fire flaring. "Let it change. We have been forgotten too long, the memory of rejection." The human turned toward them. "Tell me, why were you left here? Why does the galaxy fear you?" The soft girl lowered her head. Her glow dimmed again, like a candle struggling to survive. "They called me weak," she said. "Too soft to fight. Too soft to lead. They saw only fragility, not my heart." The wild girl's fists tightened, sparks flying around her. "And me they called too wild, too untamed. They said I could not be controlled. They feared my fire more than they feared death itself." Her voice shook with rage. "So they left us, alone, broken, forgotten." The human listened carefully. He felt their pain as if it was his own. He looked at both of them and said softly, "Then they were blind." The strange pull as his words faded. The air changed again. Both girls stepped closer, not by choice but by force. Something invisible pulled them toward him like magnets drawn together. Their energies flared, soft light and wild fire spinning around him in a storm. Instead of fighting, their powers blended, merging into something new. The human's eyes widened. The glow and flame wrapped around him but did not harm him. They flowed into his body, through his veins, filling him with strength. He gasped, falling to one knee as the power surged. The girls stared in shock. "This is impossible," the soft one whispered. "No," the wild one growled. "This is dangerous." But neither pulled away. The awakening, the ground split wider, glowing brighter. The blue veins of energy shot toward the horizon, lighting up the dead land. The sky cracked with thunder, the clouds tearing apart to reveal strange stars. The human stood again, his eyes shining faintly with the same glow and fire that lived inside the girls. His voice trembled as he spoke. "I can feel it. You are not curses. You are keys." The girls looked at each other in silence. For so long they had believed the galaxy's lies that they were mistakes. But here, with this human, their true nature was awakening. The wild one's fear, but the wild girl stepped back suddenly, shaking her head. Her fire flared in panic. "No, no! If this continues, the galaxy will come. They will destroy us all. They will never allow us to be together." The soft girl reached for her glow calming, but her voice trembled. "She is right. The galaxy fears power. If they see this, they will try to kill him too." The human clenched his fists. His voice was firm. "Let them try. I will not run. I will not abandon you." The first choice, the storm of light and fire, finally began to fade, leaving only the quiet hum of the glowing ground. The three of them stood together, breathing heavily, bound by something none of them fully understood. The soft girl looked at him, her eyes filled with fragile hope. "Why do you choose us? You could leave and live safely." He shook his head. "Because I see your truth. And maybe my destiny is tied to yours." The wild girl stared at him, her flames flickering lower, her anger softening into confusion. "Destiny," she muttered, as if the word itself was strange on her tongue. Far above, a shadow moved across the stars. Hidden ships, silent watchers, had seen the awakening. Messages raced through the galaxy. The cursed ones have found a human. Their power is rising. Armies would come. Hunters would be sent. The galaxy would not stay blind for long. But down on the cracked planet, the human stood with the two alien girls at his side. His heart was steady, his resolve unbroken. For the first time, they were not unwanted. For the first time, they were not alone, and the hidden power that bound them together had only just begun to wake. The cracked planet was no longer silent. Its surface glowed with blue veins of power, and the air hummed with an energy that felt alive. The human stood between the two alien girls, his body still carrying the echo of their touch, soft light on one side, wild fire on the other. He had never felt such strength before. But more than strength, he felt something deeper. Connection. For the first time, the girls were not weak, not dangerous, not mistakes. Together they were something greater. The quiet after the storm. The soft girl was the first to speak. Her glow shimmered gently in the dark. "This bond should not exist," she whispered. "Humans and our kind. We are not meant to connect." The wild girl crossed her arms, fire still flickering across her skin. "It is dangerous. If the galaxy learns of this, they will come for us. They will burn this planet to ash." The human looked at both of them calmly. His voice was steady. "Let them come. I have faced war before, but this is worth fighting for." The words silenced them. Nobody had ever chosen them before. Nobody had ever dared to stand at their side. A glimpse of the past. The soft girl lowered her eyes. Memories weighed heavy on her heart. She remembered the day she was abandoned, the voices that called her too weak, too fragile, too useless. She had begged to stay, but the others had turned away. Her glow had been her only comfort in the endless dark. The wild girl's fire flared as she remembered her own rejection. She had fought to belong, but her fury scared them. Her fire had burned too brightly, and they had called her dangerous, untamed, a monster. Both had carried their scars in silence. Both had believed they were unwanted forever. But now a human stood between them, saying the words they had always longed to hear. "You are not mistakes." The bond grows. The soft girl stepped closer to him. Her glow brightened as she whispered, "When you touched me, I felt your heart. I felt your pain and your hope." The wild girl frowned, but even she stepped nearer. And I felt your courage. You were ready to die, yet you stood unshaken. The human nodded slowly. I felt you both too. Your sadness, your fire, your strength. It is not weakness or chaos. It is who you are, and I will not turn away. The three of them stood close now, their energies weaving together. The bond was no longer a spark. It was becoming something unbreakable. The warning from the stars, but the universe does not ignore what it fears. High above in the endless black, ships moved silently. Messages spread quickly. The cursed ones have awakened. A human has joined them. Armies were already being prepared. Hunters would soon arrive. The galaxy did not forgive power it could not control. On the ground, the girls felt it too. The wild one's fire burned hotter, her instincts sharp. They are coming, she growled. They will not stop until they destroy us. The soft girl's glow dimmed with fear. We cannot win against them. We never could. The human clenched his fists. His eyes burned with determination. Then let them come. We will show them the truth. Together. The first test. The ground shook suddenly. From the cracks, strange creatures crawled out, beasts born from the planet's energy. They were twisted, their forms half flesh, half stone, their eyes glowing blue like the veins of the world. The girl stepped back, ready to fight. The wild one raised her fire, the soft one's glow sharpened into a shield of light. The human, though weaponless, stepped forward first. Stay behind me, he said. The wild girl snarled. Foolish human, you cannot fight them alone. But the human only smiled faintly. I am not alone anymore. The fight. The creatures roared and charged. The wild girl unleashed her fire, burning through the first wave. The soft girl raised her glowing shield, blocking the claws and teeth of another beast. The human moved with surprising speed. He felt their power inside him, guiding him. His fist struck one creature, and to his shock, fire flared from his hand. Her fire. Another beast lunged, and he raised his arm instinctively. A wave of soft light burst out, throwing the monster back, her glow. The girl stared in disbelief. He was using their powers. How? The soft girl whispered. The wild one's eyes widened. He carries both. The victory together they fought as one. Fire burned, light shielded, and the human's courage held the line. The creatures fell one by one until silence returned. The ground stopped shaking. The blue veins dimmed, retreating into the soil. The storm above faded, they stood victorious. But more than that, they stood united. The bond had grown stronger. No longer three strangers, no longer cursed. Something new had been born, the moment of truth. The girls stared at the human, breathing hard. The wild one's voice was low. If you continue down this path, there is no return. The galaxy will hunt you, hate you, and call you traitor. The soft girl's eyes shimmered with tears. And if you stay with us, your life may end here, forgotten like ours. The human met their gaze without fear. Then I choose this path, I choose you. The bond was sealed. Softness, wildness, and humanity. Three forces woven together by fate. But as the human spoke, a deep horn echoed in the sky. A signal. The hunters were near. Ships began to descend through the dark clouds, their shadows stretching across the land. The bond had made them strong, but now it would be tested. The sky burned with fire as the first ships broke through the heavy clouds. Their metal hulls glowed red from entering the atmosphere, and their engines screamed like angry beasts. The human, the soft girl, and the wild girl stood together on the cracked land, their eyes turned upward. The hunters had come. For years the galaxy had feared the two alien girls. Too soft, too wild, too different, and now that a human had bonded with them, the fear had become a threat. The galaxy would not forgive. The descent of the hunters. The ships landed in the distance, shaking the ground. Dust clouds rose and sharp lights cut through the darkness. Figures marched out, armored soldiers carrying weapons that hummed with deadly energy. One of the commanders shouted, his voice echoing across the broken land. "Step away, human. Those creatures are forbidden. They are dangerous. Leave now, and we will spare you." The human did not move. His jaw tightened, his fists clenched. Behind him, the soft girl's glow brightened and the wild girl's fire flickered hotter, ready for battle. He shouted back, his voice steady. "They are not creatures. They are not mistakes. They are mine." The first attack, the soldiers did not wait. Energy blasts tore through the air, slamming into the ground where the trio stood. The earth cracked, blue sparks leaping from the glowing veins beneath. The soft girl raised her hands, and a shield of gentle light shimmered into existence. The blasts struck the barrier but did not break it. Her body trembled, sweat forming on her skin, but she held firm. The wild girl roared and unleashed her fire, streams of burning flame racing across the battlefield. Soldiers scattered, their armor glowing red from the heat. The human stood at their center. No shield, no weapon, only the bond. The human's awakening. When one of the soldiers charged at him with a glowing blade, the human reacted without thinking. He raised his hand, and light burst forth, knocking the soldier back. Another came from the side, and his fist ignited with fire, striking hard. The powers of the girls lived inside him now, flowing through his veins. He was no longer just human. He was something new. The soft girl gasped as she watched. He carries us both." The wild girl's fire burned brighter. "Then he fights with us." The test of unity, wave after wave of soldiers came. Blasts of energy, blades of light, armored beasts unleashed from cages, all poured onto the battlefield. The wild girl leapt into the fray, her flames tearing through machines and weapons. The soft girl stood behind, her glow forming shields and healing the burns on the human's arms. The human fought with both. Sometimes his fists carried fire, sometimes his strikes shone with light. The bond was no longer only in their hearts, it was in their very bodies. Their power shared across all three. Still, the numbers were endless. For every soldier that fell, more came. The ground became littered with smoke and broken armor. The breaking point. At last, the soft girl fell to her knees, her glow dimming. I cannot hold much longer," she whispered. The wild girl snarled, flames licking across her skin. "Stand back, I will burn them all." Her fire raged so wildly that even the human struggled to control it. He grabbed her wrist. "If you burn everything, you will lose yourself." Her eyes flashed with anger and pain. "Better to burn than to be caged again." The human shook his head fiercely. "No, not this time. You are not alone. Trust me." The soft girl looked up, her weak glow flickering, and added softly, "Trust us." The choice, the wild girl's fire trembled. For the first time, she hesitated. Her whole life she had fought alone, but now two voices pulled at her, steady, gentle, unbroken. She took a deep breath, her fire calming, no longer wild chaos but sharp, focused strength. She placed her hand in the human's, the other in the soft girl's. The bond sealed tighter, stronger than ever, and the world itself reacted. The power unleashed. The ground glowed brighter than before, blue veins pulsing like a heartbeat. The energy rose through their bodies, connecting them as one. The soldiers stopped in shock as light and fire exploded outward, sweeping across the battlefield. The storm of power did not destroy, it transformed. Weapons shattered, armor cracked, engines died. The hunters collapsed to their knees, powerless. Above, the ships shook violently, their system shutting down as the wave of energy spread. One by one, they fell silent, drifting without power. The trio stood at the center of the storm, glowing with a force the galaxy had never seen. The silence. After, when the light faded, the battlefield was quiet. The hunters were not dead, only broken, unable to fight. Their commander stared at them in horror. What are you?" he whispered. The human stepped forward, his voice firm. "Not monsters, not curses, not mistakes. We are a bond the galaxy feared, but fear will not end us." The soft girl glowed softly, steady and calm. The wild girl's fire burned bright, sharp and controlled. Together they stood unshaken. The hunters retreated, dragging their wounded and broken machines back to their ships. But the commander left a final warning. This is not over. The galaxy will never accept you. More will come. Stronger. You cannot win. The human watched them go, then turned to the girls. His voice was calm, but his eyes were fierce. Then let them come. We will face them, together. The bond had passed its first test, but in the shadows of the galaxy, greater enemies were already moving, and the true trial of their bond had only just begun. The battlefield lay silent, broken ships scattered across the horizon and soldiers retreating in shame. Smoke rose from the cracked ground, but at the center of it all stood three figures: the human, the soft girl, and the wild girl. They were breathing hard, their bodies marked by dust and sweat, yet their eyes burned with something unshakable. For the first time they had fought as one, and for the first time they had won. But the victory was not the end. Above them, the sky trembled with distant thunder. More ships, larger than before, moved slowly into orbit. The galaxy had seen their power, and the galaxy was afraid. Armies would come again, stronger and more ruthless. No one forgave what they had just witnessed. The bond was not only a miracle, it was now a threat. The human stood straight, his fists still carrying the echoes of light and fire. His voice was low but steady. They will not stop. They will keep coming until we are destroyed. The soft girl's glow flickered gently as she looked at him. Then it is time you see our truth. The truth even we have hidden from ourselves. The wild girl's fire burned brighter, though her eyes carried both pride and fear. The galaxy never saw us for what we are. Not soft, not wild. Something else. She stepped closer to the human, her voice heavy with meaning. And your courage unlocked it. The air thickened as the ground pulsed again. The blue veins that had run across the land now lit the entire horizon, glowing like rivers of light. The energy rose into the sky, breaking through the clouds and turning the darkness into a storm of fire and radiance. The human felt it pulling at his chest as if the bond was no longer only inside them, but stretching far beyond. The soft girl raised her hands and her glow poured outward like waves of moonlight. The wild girl lifted her arms and her fire roared like a controlled inferno. Together they turned to the human and whispered the same words. Do not be afraid. He opened his mouth to speak, but the power surged before he could. Light and fire wrapped around him, burning but not hurting, filling every part of his being. His heart raced as visions rushed into his mind. Visions of the girls not as outcasts but as divine beings once worshipped and feared. They were guardians, protectors of worlds, abandoned because their strength frightened the weak. Tears filled his eyes as he finally understood. Their beauty was not just in their bodies, not just in their glow or fire. It was in their spirit, in their strength, in the courage to survive when the universe turned its back. They were not too soft or too wild. They were perfect in their balance. The storm reached its peak and their forms began to change. The soft girl's glow became blinding, her body radiant as if she were made of living starlight. The wild girl's fire sharpened into golden flames that crowned her like a queen of storms. They stood taller, stronger, transformed into something both terrifying and breathtaking. The human fell to his knees, overwhelmed, but they reached for him, pulling him back to his feet. Their voices spoke together, echoing like thunder and song. You saw us when no one else would. You gave us strength to become what we were meant to be, and now we will never let you stand alone. Far above, the massive ships in orbit prepared their weapons, beams of deadly light aimed at the planet. But before they could fire, the girls raised their arms and the human raised his with them. The bond ignited, releasing a wave of energy so bright it blinded the heavens. The beams of destruction never reached the ground. Instead, the ships trembled, their weapons failing, their engines cracking under the force. One by one they broke apart, silent explosions painting the night with sparks. The hunters who had sworn to end them were scattered like dust in a storm. When the light faded, silence returned. The sky cleared, revealing stars brighter than ever before. The planet itself seemed alive again, glowing softly as if healed by the bond. The human looked at the girls, his voice breaking. You are beautiful. The soft one smiled, her glow warm like the first light of dawn. Not too weak? She asked softly. The wild one smirked, her fire dancing like golden embers. Not too dangerous? She teased. He shook his head, his eyes steady. Not weak. Not dangerous. Just true, just beautiful. The girls stood by his side, no longer cursed, no longer unwanted. They had been seen, chosen, and loved not for what others feared, but for what they truly were. And the galaxy, no matter how much it tried to fight, could not erase that truth. From that day onward, legends spread across the stars, not of monsters, not of curses, but of two alien girls who revealed their true beauty, and the human who saw what no one else dared to see. And though the galaxy still watched with fear and envy, in the hearts of those who heard the tale, a single truth remained. Sometimes, true beauty is hidden not in what the eyes can see, but in what the heart is brave enough to believe.